A millionaire father notices a black bricklayer feeding his blind daughter and experiences a life-changing moment forever. Robert Montgomery, a wealthy man, stood motionless, observing the scene unfold in his Connecticut estate's garden. The bricklayer, his hands rough and calloused, dressed in worn clothes from hard labor, was tenderly feeding his daughter Charlotte, the same daughter Robert could barely look in the eyes since the accident that had left her blind 2 years prior. "Just one more spoonful, Marcus," said Charlotte with kindness that made Robert feel as if a knife were twisting in his chest. Charlotte's laughter, a sound Robert had almost forgotten, rang out at 8 years old. She hadn't smiled like that in a long time, especially in her father's presence. The girl raised her hand, accurately finding Marcus's face. "Tell me more about the colors in the garden." "Marcus," she asked, "I want to see through your eyes." Robert recoiled into the shadows of the terrace, feeling a toxic mix of shame and anger swelling inside. How could this man, who'd known Charlotte for just 2 weeks, connect with her in a way her own father could no longer do? Montgomery Construction was among the largest firms nationwide, specializing in luxury buildings that transformed urban landscapes. Yet, Robert Montgomery couldn't build a bridge to his own daughter's heart. The accident had happened on an ordinary afternoon, a drunk driver, a blind curve, and Charlotte's life was forever altered. Robert had been behind the wheel, while he physically walked away unscathed. Emotionally, he was shattered, drowning in work and guilt. Since then, Charlotte had been cared for by well-paid nannies and nurses, while Robert secluded himself in the upper floors of his mansion or his city office. The arrival of the garden renovation team led by Marcus Johnson shouldn't have changed this dysfunctional pattern. However, something was shifting, and Robert didn't know how to handle it. Mr. Montgomery called his housekeeper, Mrs. Peterson, interrupting his dark thoughts. "You have an important call from China about the Shanghai project." Robert nodded mechanically, casting one last glance at the garden before heading to his office. As he walked down the hall, he paused before a framed photo of his late wife. "Eleanor, you would have known what to do," he murmured. "You always knew." That afternoon, during a meeting with investors, Robert was distant, his mind repeatedly drifting back to the garden scene. When he returned home, he found Mrs. Peterson waiting with a worried look. "Sir, Charlotte's piano teacher called. She missed her 3rd lesson in a row." "What do you mean? Didn't the nurse take her?" Robert asked. "Charlotte refused to go," she replied. "She said she hates the piano now that she can't see the keys." The weight of guilt grew heavier on Robert's chest. Eleanor had been a pianist, and Charlotte had always loved her lessons. That night, unable to sleep, Robert went to the kitchen for water. He was surprised to hear voices in the garden. Quietly approaching the back door, he saw Marcus sitting by the fountain with Charlotte. "Well, after working hours, my father doesn't love me anymore since I went blind," Charlotte said, her voice certain and heartbreaking. "He can't even be in the same room with me." "Don't say that, little one." Marcus's voice was firm yet gentle. "Sometimes adults don't know how to deal with pain, especially the pain of those they love most." "Have you lost someone you loved?" Charlotte asked. A long silence followed before Marcus answered. "Yes, my daughter Zoe. She was almost your age." Robert froze. Something in Marcus's voice, a deep, familiar pain, kept him rooted in the shadows. "What happened to her?" Charlotte asked. "She was sick, leukemia. We fought for 3 years." Marcus took a deep breath. "What I've learned, Charlotte, is that the time we have with the people we love is too precious to waste on fear." Robert recoiled, a shadow of himself, as his world crumbled. He realized the true nature of his behavior wasn't protection, but cowardice. As he ascended the stairs back to his empty room, one question haunted him. What kind of man abandons his own daughter in her hour of greatest need, while a stranger carrying his own devastating pain. Finds the strength to comfort her? What Robert didn't know was that Marcus Johnson was more than just a kind-hearted bricklayer. There was a deeper story behind him, far beyond what anyone in the mansion could imagine, and the truths that would surface in the coming weeks would forever alter the destiny of all involved. If the story of guilt, redemption, and unlikely bonds touch your heart, be sure to subscribe to the channel. You'll discover how the meeting of these two men, broken by life but united in love for the same child, will ignite a series of revelations no one could have foreseen. In the days that followed, Robert intensified his investigation into Marcus. He discreetly hired a specialized agency, something routine in his business. I want everything about him, he ordered over the phone, especially about his daughter. His eyes remained fixed on the monitor showing the garden cameras. Watching Marcus and Charlotte, he saw the bricklayer's impressive patience, transforming the garden into a sensory space for her, teaching her to identify plants by touch and scent, describing colors with analogies she could understand. This red is like the warmth of the sun on your face on a summer afternoon, Robert heard him say, as Charlotte touched a rose. That accuracy haunted him. 3 days later, the report arrived. Robert opened it with trembling hands. Marcus Johnson, 42, with honors in civil engineering, married to Amelia, who had passed away from cancer, father of Zoe, who had died of leukemia at age 7. After their losses, Marcus abandoned his promising career, needing to do something with his hands to keep from going crazy. He started as a gardening assistant, then moved into construction. Robert stepped away, overwhelmed. Marcus was more than a bricklayer. He was an engineer capable of managing entire projects. How could he smile after losing everything? That night, for the first time since the accident, Robert entered Charlotte's room while she was asleep. Hesitantly, he touched her hair, his first real contact in nearly 2 years. The next morning, he did something unexpected. He canceled 3 important meetings and prepared a picnic. Charlotte came downstairs for breakfast to find her father waiting. "I thought we could spend a day together in the garden," he said. The shock on her face was quickly replaced by a radiant smile. "Really? Dad? Aren't you too busy?" That innocent question shattered him inside. The day was awkward at first. They sat near Marcus, who was working, when Charlotte recognized Marcus's footsteps. She called out, "My dad is with me today. Come meet him." The two men exchanged a look laden with unspoken meaning. In the weeks that followed, a new routine emerged. Robert watched, tried to understand how someone who had lost so much could give so much. One afternoon, he approached Marcus. "How do you do it?" he asked, his voice vulnerable. "After everything. How can you be so present for my daughter when her own father, can barely look at her without choking on my guilt?" Marcus paused, then said, "When Zoe was dying, she made me promise something. Daddy, promise you'll keep seeing the colors." I didn't understand it at the time. He looked at Charlotte by the fountain. "Your daughter is alive, Mr. Montgomery. She needs you to see her colors, not just your blindness." Those words struck Robert like lightning. For 2 years, he had seen only her disability, not her vibrant spirit. The next day, something unexpected happened. Robert received an anonymous envelope at his office. Inside was a medical file and a note. "You need to know the truth about the doctor who treated your daughter." The file contained serious allegations against Dr. Bennett, the neurologist who declared Charlotte permanently blind. It revealed a pattern: hasty diagnoses, inappropriate treatments, transfers between hospitals, lawsuits, all covered by confidentiality agreements. Robert's blood ran cold. What if Charlotte's blindness wasn't irreversible? What if Dr. Bennett had ignored a name in the file? Zoe Johnson. Connections flooded his mind. Zoe's misdiagnosis with leukemia, her death, Marcus's presence, the coincidence of Marcus's garden, and Zoe's case seemed far from accidental. Could this man, who'd lost his own daughter to the same doctor, be seeking revenge? Driving home that night, Robert was torn between hope and fear. What did Marcus truly want? Why was he so close to Charlotte? Why send that file anonymously? The answers were nearer than he realized, threatening to expose a dark conspiracy that would challenge everything he believed about loyalty, justice, and revenge. In his dimly lit office, Robert typed furiously, immersed in the investigation, medical records, financial reports, old photographs. Spread across the desk was a picture of Marcus and a young girl, Zoe, the same anomalies, the same neurologist, the same failed treatments. Connecting the dots, Robert's stomach tightened. The next morning, he called an urgent meeting with his top lawyers. I want everything on Dr. Bennett. He ordered every penny that's come in and out of his accounts for the past 10 years. I want to know who's protecting him. As the lawyers left, Robert gazed out at the garden, where Charlotte practiced identifying flowers by touch, guided by Marcus's quiet voice. Their closeness no longer disturbed him. Now, it terrified him. Sir, Marcus is online too, announced his secretary. He says he needs to speak with you urgently. Marcus's voice sounded tense. Mr. Montgomery, I need to cancel tomorrow's work. I have an important doctor's appointment for Charlotte. Charlotte? Why would you be taking my daughter to the doctor? Robert felt a chill. A heavy silence filled the line. I think we need to talk in person tonight, after Charlotte goes to bed. The rest of the day blurred by. Robert canceled all his meetings and returned home. There, he found Charlotte and Marcus in the garden, sharing stories as usual. Watching them, Robert could no longer distinguish innocence from manipulation. Marcus's kindness now seemed dark and threatening. When Charlotte finally slept, Marcus was waiting in the office. Without preamble, he placed a folder on the table. I believe you've already received similar information, Marcus said, his face a mask that contained emotion. I was the one who sent the first envelope. I needed to see if you were alert enough to realize what's really going on. What is this about? Mr. Johnson? Robert's voice was icy. Marcus opened the folder. Dr. Bennett isn't just incompetent. He's a criminal, conducting unauthorized experiments, misdiagnosing patients, including your daughter. Zoe wasn't terminal. She had a treatable condition that was deliberately misdiagnosed, and Charlotte's blindness isn't permanent. Her condition can be reversed. Marcus took a deep breath. Your daughter and mine were victims of the same man. The revelation hit Robert like lightning. Why didn't you go to the police? I tried, Marcus said bitterly. But Dr. Bennett is protected by powerful people. I have proof, but I need someone with resources to expose him. So, you got close to my daughter to manipulate me, Robert accused, anger rising. No, Marcus replied, voice steady. I sought employment here because I knew his daughter was a patient, but I approached Charlotte because she reminds me of Zoe, and because no child should suffer what our daughters did. Torn, Robert looked at Marcus, distrust and hope battling within him. I'm not asking you to trust me, Marcus continued. I'm asking you to trust the evidence. He slid another folder across the table. I contacted Dr. Elisa Winters, an expert in ocular neurology. She confirmed Charlotte can be treated, but we have to keep this secret from Dr. Bennett. Why? Because Charlotte isn't the only one. I believe Bennett is about to begin a new phase of experiments on other children. He hesitated. A few years ago, I confronted him directly. A week later, Zoe had a complication, then she died. The room grew cold. The suspicion Marcus revealed was monstrous. A respected doctor deliberately harming children to push his research forward. Tomorrow, take Charlotte to see Dr. Winters. Marcus said, if she can regain her sight, we'll do more than that. A fierce resolve lit Robert's eyes. If what you say is true, we'll destroy Bennett and everyone protecting him. That night, the plan took shape. Robert mobilized resources, media contacts, private investigators, top lawyers. Marcus contributed his knowledge, including the names of other affected families. The next day, under the guise of a family outing, Robert took Charlotte to Dr. Witters's discreet clinic. The examination was thorough, and it confirmed what no one could have imagined. Charlotte's blindness was reversible. The initial diagnosis had been grossly incompetent or intentionally false. Leaving the clinic, Robert held Charlotte's hand with renewed determination. What had begun as suspicion had turned into a shared mission. Two fathers, one a billionaire, the other a bricklayer, both shattered by the same evil, now united in a common goal, justice for their daughters, and safeguarding others from harm. What Dr. Bennett couldn't anticipate was that while he was quietly running his luxurious practice, a relentless storm was brewing, one that would tear down his carefully built empire of lies. The courtroom was silent as Dr. Bennett was led away in handcuffs. His empire had fallen in hours, exposed by the unlikely alliance of Robert Montgomery and Marcus Johnson. This is just the beginning, the prosecutor announced. Investigations have already identified over 40 children affected by Dry Bennett's fraudulent diagnoses. As they left the courthouse, reporters gathered around Robert and Marcus. Charlotte held tightly to both their hands, wearing a serene smile. Her eyes, once empty, now observed her surroundings with clarity. "Mr. Montgomery, how did you discover the fraud?" asked the reporter. "The truth finds unexpected paths," Robert replied, exchanging a knowing look with Marcus. "Sometimes we have to lose everything to truly see what matters." 3 months later, in a quiet ceremony, the Zoe Foundation opened its doors. The treatment center, built swiftly with Robert's support, was already helping 15 children misdiagnosed by Bennett. "We didn't just seek justice," Marcus said during the inauguration. "We wanted to transform that pain into something that saves other families." Dr. Winters, now medical director, had adapted Bennett's protocol. Ironically, his research could have saved many lives, including Zoe's, if not for greed. Charlotte, with her vision improving weekly, became the face of the foundation, inspiring families to seek second opinions and question seemingly definitive diagnoses. Meanwhile, Bennett's financial empire crumbled. Associated hospitals faced millions in lawsuits. Colleagues who covered his malpractice were indicted. The system that had protected his negligence was now turning against him. Robert, changed by the experience, reorganized his priorities. Montgomery Construction, once solely profit-driven, now dedicated 30% of its projects to children's hospitals and medical research centers. Charlotte taught me that our eyes can be open, but we still don't see what truly matters, he confessed in a rare interview. On a meaningful afternoon, Robert watched Charlotte play with other children in the foundation's garden, with Marcus nearby, tears in his eyes. Zoe would be 11 today, Marcus said quietly. Robert nodded silently. After a moment, he asked, "Do you think we did her justice?" Marcus watched the children. Justice is different from revenge. Revenge would be to destroy Bennett and stop there. Justice is ensuring his evil isn't repeated. "You know what haunts me the most?" Robert continued. "If not for you, I'd never have uncovered the truth. I would have spent my life believing her condition was irreversible. And if not for you," Marcus replied, "I could never have exposed Bennett. My voice alone was enough." That week, a special child arrived at the foundation, Emma Wilson, 7 years old, diagnosed with the same condition as Charlotte. Her parents, unable to afford private treatment, had lost hope until they saw the report about the Zoe Foundation. "You can tell when a child regains their sight," explained Dr. Winters, observing Emma's first consultation. "There's a moment when their eyes begin to follow the world, then suddenly light up with recognition. A year after Bennett's trial, the Garden of the Zoe Foundation celebrated a special moment. Charlotte, now nearly fully sighted, blew out her birthday candles. Emma and other recovered children cheered. Robert, witnessing the scene, realized his own blindness had been cured, just as Charlotte's had. Before Marcus entered his life, Robert had merely existed, accumulating wealth, losing human connections, hiding behind privilege. There's a blindness worse than physical impairment. He confided to Marcus the blindness of those who see only money, status, and power. On the main wall of the foundation, a simple plaque displayed a powerful message in memory of Zoe Johnson, who taught us to see beyond appearances. From a shared tragedy, an unlikely partnership was born, a union that transformed lives and redefined what family truly means. It proved that the strongest bonds aren't necessarily of blood, but are forged through compassion, shared purpose, and the understanding that our differences are insignificant compared to the values that unite us. If this story of justice and redemption moved you, be sure to subscribe for more stories reminding us that sometimes we have to lose everything to discover what really matters.